102.7 Sex and Sexuality. Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Experience of One. This is an awareness expanding course that should be absorbed in order. Like a university course, this course's information builds upon itself, so you would be doing yourself a disservice if you took it in out of order. If you do not watch it in order, you might not comprehend the material, or worse, you will think you fully understood it and walk away with a skewed interpretation. Do yourself a favor and first view 101.1, 101.2, 101.3, and 101.4, which are all in one video that starts with an introduction to this course. Then continue on in viewing the subjects in order. The introduction to this course needs to be taken in first in order to know the nature of this awareness expanding course. Think of this course as a book where you will not understand it fully if you do not read the chapters in order. Chapter 1 being the introduction that is imperative to take in first. So please click on the link in the description section under this video to view the first video. We will cover some aspects of gender and sexuality that are already known to open-minded human beings, and then we will cover the act of sex as it pertains to the energy centers / chakras, as the two are intertwined. A being cannot participate in the act of sex without also involving the flow of energy through their chakras. The understanding of chakras being activated during the act of sex reveals a whole new level of understanding of sexuality and the act of sex. The act of sex, whether there is intercourse or not, may offer a powerful flow and exchange of energy. This is precisely why negatively oriented third density beings, who are influenced by negative fourth density beings, have utilized their captured and twisted religions to shame sex throughout history. To shame the very act that needs to be practiced in order for a species to procreate is pure folly. Additional programming has also been added to this folly, shaming females and honoring males for how often they participate in the same act of sex. This gender-based hypocrisy of the act of sex makes no sense, as an exchange of sexual energy takes two beings, not one. Solo sex is also a natural act that can be beneficial and powerful for channeling energy up through the chakras. It is not an exchange of energy, as there is only one being involved, but it offers a self-sufficient way of channeling energy up the energy centers. Solo sex by the adept, positive or negative, may involve an energy exchange between the third density being and a higher density being, so in reality it is not actually solo sex. Since the separation of beings is an illusion and in reality there is only one being that all beings are a part of, a being always has sex with itself whether there is one or more beings involved. There is simply not an exchange of energy between parts of Source when only one part of Source is involved. Therefore, it is folly to shame those who practice solo sex. Those who do so are following the negative's programming, along with their other programming that promotes low vibratory sexual acts that polarize toward the negative, focused orange ray or yellow ray chakra sex. The programming that shames females and honors males for performing the same act is only one piece of much evidence that displays the inequality of the two genders in civilizations on Earth. The highly negatively oriented human beings, whose bloodlines have had the largest control over Earth, have kept males in charge of their operations because the energy influence of a male is less likely to be emotionally impacted by performing high acts of selfishness that include harming and forced transitioning / killing other beings. Emotions are powerful, and this is why females, who are more in touch with their spiritual nature than their physical nature due to the spinning flow of energy through their chakras, tend to be more powerful co-creators than males. Males are more in touch with their physical nature in the body complex and therefore are more physically powerful. If the female is unbalanced, their emotional power will work against them, perhaps in a dangerous way. If the male is unbalanced, their physical power will work against them, perhaps in a dangerous way. With power comes responsibility, and this is the case for both females and males. Due to energy flow, females are more in tune with their spirit complex and males are more in tune with their body complex. This difference of energy flow is meant to be balanced out when used together harmoniously in relationships and for a civilization. There has been much progress for the equality of females in some civilizations on Earth, but negatively oriented third density beings, whether male or female, have hindered this equality and kept the most powerful positions for males, positions that are more powerful than publicly recognized positions of temporary leaders and presidents of a certain nation, organization, or company. We note, shunning all males for what a very select few do is not only folly, but would support a counterproductive gender war, and such separation is most welcome by negatively oriented human beings, who have created programming specifically to promote disharmony between genders. So engaging in such separation would be falling right into a trap. Wanderers, especially from 6th density, tend to be more balanced in their masculine and feminine gender energy because they have adequately balanced their higher chakras in past incarnations, and this balanced disposition bleeds through to the conscious from the subconscious in a wanderer's incarnation. If the wanderer adequately balances all of or most of their chakras in an incarnation, they become even more balanced in this manner and can use emotions like females can to be powerful co-creators even if they are males. This is also the case for third density males who are not wanderers and have adequately balanced most of their chakras, at least the green ray heart chakra being adequately balanced. Denying the quality of one half of two inseparable halves of energy flow, the yin and the yang, that comprise a whole always produces instability and energy imbalance for a relationship, civilization, or planet. Negatively oriented third density beings have captured and twisted sexual and gender equality movements like they have for the creation of religions and any other aspect of life that is seen as powerful and influential. The hippie and free love movement was ignited by living a life that is heart chakra oriented. Since negatively oriented third density beings see universal love as a threat to their control structure, they attempted to program human beings into shunning and shaming the lifestyle and outlook of the hippies. They also invested in several clandestine efforts to stop the free love movement and were eventually successful. They have also captured and twisted the gender equality movement by charging and creating the programming of females in this movement to be resentful and angered toward males, which only acts to discredit their movement and make it ineffective, as you cannot put out a fire by adding more fire to it. The same has happened for race equality movements. A situation that was once or still is inappropriately unequal is not solved by making it inappropriately unequal on the other side, This only continues the problem and adds fire to fire instead of putting out the fire with calming water. The negatives are very aware of this, but the human tools they tempt to get caught up in it are not. Nothing charged with hate ends up being beneficial, as the equal loving participation of female and male energies are necessary for producing and nurturing offspring. So is this equal loving participation needed for nurturing a healthy and balanced society and planet. As harvest time comes nearer and the stakes have been raised, we have witnessed a full-on attack by negatively oriented third density human beings who are influenced by their negative fourth density chosen masters, capturing and twisting any possible aspect of life in order to cause confusion, separation, and duality fighting in order to further their control over the majority. Aspects of life that were once agreed upon by common sense have been attempted to be turned upside down with programming and social conditioning that stems from the programming. The attempts of separation and confusion by the negatives has also been aimed at the roots of nurturing. Not only have males been pitted against females and vice versa, different races pitted against each other, and the countless other acts of creating dualism and division between beings, nations, religions, wealth status, political parties, and so-called political issues, etc. But the programming, in order to be more effective and long-lasting, has been aimed at family units, specifically children. In this manner, the negatively oriented human beings hope to transform the planet in their controlled image in 2 generations' time. Instead of a planet rapidly evolving and transitioning smoothly into a positive fourth density planet in a few generations' time, the negatives attempt to capture and twist this few generations' time transition toward negative polarity instead of positive polarity. In every single possible way forward offered by the beings of positive polarity, the beings of negative polarity have attempted to grab the reins of control and twist the direction toward their preferred negative polarity. After all, this is the role beings in negative polarity are meant to play for the cosmic experience to function. Social conditioning has shaped the idea that only lifelong love relationships are seen as important and sought after. Some love relationships are pre-incarnate planned by beings to last for a certain duration and not be lifelong. If they were to end up being lifelong, they would not serve the 2 beings. Long-term love relationships are more conducive to activating the heart chakra and offer the balancing of the lower and higher chakras. But short-term love relationships offer their own experiences that offer assistance with growth and advancement as well. It is not wise to see all love relationships that are not lifelong as being a waste of time and effort, as learning and advancing is not a waste of time or effort. A being's intuition and their spirit guide's influence guide them toward other beings they have pre-incarnate planned to have short-term and long-term relationships with, even if the 2 reside in different geographical areas on the planet. One is attracted to the other like the forces of magnets. Spirit guides are always there to help nudge a being toward the path they have pre-incarnate planned for themselves, but it is the responsibility of the third density being to understand the signs along the way and go with the guided flow. While disincarnate in the inner planes, a being does not have a gender. A being does not incarnate as a certain gender by pure chance. With the aid of their higher self, A being chooses to incarnate as a female or male before an incarnation. If an incarnate being decides to ignore their own pre-incarnate plans and their higher self and attempts to change their gender by mutilating their third density body, a potentially large portion of their pre-incarnate plans may not be fulfilled due to their path in life being drastically altered, leading to a missed incarnation opportunity of growth and balancing out karma for oneself and the others involved in their pre-incarnate plans. We say attempts to change because the surgical procedures used do not change the directional flow of energy that is present in a male and female at birth, and the hormone supplements given then cause the mind-body-spirit complex to be even more damaged and unbalanced. Not changing one's gender was, and still is to almost all human beings, one of the aspects that falls under common sense. And if the negatively oriented human beings were not working overtime promoting this and other detrimental tactics that offer confusion and division, this topic would not have needed to be addressed, as it was not in the past. As harvest time approaches and the seniority of vibration is in effect, there is a major increase of incarnations from later third subdensity beings, fourth density graduates who are assisting in the physical body's transition from third to fourth density, and wanderers. These advanced positively oriented beings tend to be more balanced in the energy of masculinity and femininity, especially the latter two listed, as one who moves towards wholeness invariably is. Knowing this, the negatives attempt to use this disposition against positively oriented beings with confusion, attempting to use their balanced sexual energy and nature that is a strength as a weakness and persuade them to instead focus only on either their masculinity or femininity and change their gender. Some of the males of the majority who get caught up in fighting this programming fall prey to a type of reverse psychology and attempt to be more masculine to counteract the negative's agendas, falling into the same gender energy unbalancing trap. This and almost all programming is meant to harm and negatively charge both sides held by the players, those on both sides of whatever dualism issues the programming is targeting. This causes the dualism gap to become wider instead of coming closer together where issues could potentially be solved. The negatives have made this sexuality issue and countless others as so-called political issues because the dualism of political parties and their constant fighting has already been forged and engineered by negatively oriented human beings into a fierce battleground, with human beings choosing to be on one side or the other, where minimal healthy communication is had and separation and hatred brew in dualism. This creates constant and endless division, dualism at its finest. In this state, the negatives greatly benefit. To move an issue onto the dualistic battleground of charged politics has been beneficial for the negatively oriented. If the negatively oriented could, they would move every topic, no matter how small, to the political battleground so that separation is further charged, as division is the nature of the negatively polarized being. We would not be surprised if how one simply says hello to another becomes a political issue. Perhaps saying hello will become politically incorrect altogether with the full-on attack we have seen from the negatively oriented. When there is only a right side and a left side, or any state of dualism, there is no middle path that the Buddha spoke of. It would be wise to cease having political parties and so-called political issues, and instead vote for individuals based on their aspirations. Photographing a political candidate's aura, which is a technology available on Earth, at different times during their campaign would be a beneficial strategy at determining their honesty and advancement as a being. If this were done, human beings would find a large portion of their political candidates as having murky auras. Such a method would need to be very secure because the individuals with murky auras would somehow try to pass off fabricated aura photography of themselves so they may continue to deceive their voters. In positive higher densities, the aura that emanates from the energy centers / chakras can be plainly seen and is used to decide rotating positions of leadership. No campaigning is needed. It is not wise to think of oneself as a half looking for another half to make them whole in a love relationship. If one works on being whole themselves by doing the inner work, they are much more likely to participate in a healthy love relationship when one materializes. Thinking of oneself as perpetually incomplete as a half stems from a lack of self-confidence and neediness, which fuels conditional love with strings that express as love only if the perceived and wanted aspects of another benefits the other. Although self-aware beings may grow and become aware of their faults and imbalances and how to overcome and balance them in a relationship, the inherent uniqueness of a being is fixed. So if another being tries to change this in another, it is a selfish act of control and an infringement upon one's free will. If two beings' uniqueness is not compatible, a harmonious long-term love relationship is out of reach and therefore was not pre-incarnate planned. Universal love comes with no conditions. If the perceived loving feelings only exist if certain conditions are met, this is the guise of love. Conditional love stems from unbalanced orange ray chakra energy, which is expressed by personal matters and one-on-one matters. Universal love stems from an adequately balanced green ray heart chakra. In this state, a being may become aware of their flaws and lovingly inform their partner of theirs if deemed appropriate. When the act of being wrong or right is set aside, a being is more able to observe themselves and become aware of their flaws. When one finds the door and decides to open it, the inner work may begin. If a third density being incarnated on a planet and lived their whole incarnation or most of their incarnation in solitude, it would be a major disadvantage for their growth. It is the interaction with other beings that offers cause and effect scenarios and provides a mirror so that a being may more clearly recognize and understand their mental states, and mental states also possibly prompt physical actions. Those that leave a society in their formative years to seek so-called enlightenment are doing themselves a disservice, as they are much more likely to advance and grow with the aid of interacting with others, whether the interactions are perceived as positive or negative. Adversity offers growth because adversity allows matters to arise and so be made aware of. The lack of adversity greatly decreases the probabilities that make one aware of matters that need to be focused on and overcome. If the topic is not brought up, it is not focused on. Love relationships offer beings the most effective mirror to identify their faults, as love relationships provide a close and ongoing interaction. Love relationships could be seen as intense learning courses. To participate in a love relationship that is longer than short term is to enroll in an education that offers growth by allowing one to become aware of their faults, aspects of their self that require overcoming or balancing. Friend relationships may offer this, but typically to a lesser degree. We will expand upon love relationships and related topics in 103 subjects. We will now cover the heart of this subject by focusing on the intertwined relationship between energy centers / chakras and the act of sex. To understand the relationship between the two is to understand the nature of the act of sex. Before we proceed, it would be notable to convey that there is no wrong or right way when practicing the act of sex in the highest viewpoint of Source, but acts of sex that do not engage the heart chakra are of low vibration and polarized toward the negative. This is not a judgment, it is merely the reality. The last thing we want to do when covering this subject is to add shame and judgment to the acts of sex. The negatives have already thoroughly offered shame and judgment for the acts of sex throughout Earth history, utilizing their created religions and programming to do so. The act of sex is an activity that the mind, body, and spirit are involved in. The physical body is not the only complex that is engaged during this activity. The red ray chakra, being the root chakra, offers no polarity from the act of sex, and so is not healthy or unhealthy. It is responsible for the random act of producing offspring for a continuation of the species. The act of sex that focuses on the orange or yellow ray chakra concentrates on one being playing the role of submission and one being playing the role of the dominator. This is not harmonious and creates blockages in the orange or yellow ray chakra and is therefore unhealthy. During the act of sex, the orange ray chakra, if blocked, will focus on one being to another in an unequal manner. The yellow ray chakra, if blocked, during the act of sex focuses on unequal group orientation. Even though the sexual act is between two individuals, the mind utilizes unequal group scenarios to engage in the act of sex, such as the inequality of race and nationality. Acts of sex that focus on the orange or yellow ray chakra and stop the upward flow of energy through the chakras are not harmonious because one being plays the controller and the other the controlled, which is different from the loving act in sex of giving and receiving where both beings are equal and loving in the exchange. Orange and yellow ray chakra focused sex is the only type of sex that higher density negatives perform, as their structure in the larger board game of life is all about hierarchy of power and control. And the smaller board game of sex mirrors the larger board game of life. Orange and yellow ray chakra focused sexual acts are not only performed by negatively oriented third density beings, they may also be performed by these sexually confused, neutrally and positively oriented third density beings who are creating blockages and not utilizing their full potential of energy flow that continues further up the chakras. When both human beings engage in the green ray heart chakra during the act of sex, a harmonious exchange of energy is had that focuses on universal love and equality instead of one acting superior to the other. The heart chakra and higher chakras may be engaged with one being giving and another receiving, but this should not be confused with one controlling and one being controlled. Instead, it is a loving act of giving and receiving that is appreciated by both beings, and a mental scenario of one being playing the controller or submissive role does not arise. Engaging the heart chakra and higher chakras during the act of sex is easier done when the two beings know and understand each other to some degree, which takes a period of time. This is why long-term love relationships are more conducive to engaging the heart chakra and higher chakras during the act of sex. But there are some beings whose inherent nature grants them a higher ability in the act of sex, providing a greater potential in engaging the heart chakra and higher chakras during the act of sex, even with partners they do not know well. All beings are unique and have their own sets of abilities in different areas. This is what allows all the different puzzle pieces, beings, to fit together and produce a larger working picture. If two beings experiencing the act of sex both engage the green ray heart chakra, there is a harmonious energy exchange between the two beings. The female and the male give to the other what they hold in abundance due to the nature of gender-related energy flow and access. Males are more in touch with their body complex and so gift vital energy to the female. Females are more in touch with their spirit complex and so gift intuition that may lead to inspiration for the male. This is why on Earth, males have frequently called females their muse. During the act of sex, when one being engages the green ray chakra and the other only goes as far as engaging the orange or yellow ray chakra, which could potentially be avoided if both beings honestly express what they want to participate in prior to the act of sex, but not if it is merely done mentally by one being and not in the actions taken. The being engaging the green ray chakra may intuitively guide the other to do the same, or only engage in it themselves, or they may be lowered to the other's focused lower chakra, creating blockages in the lower chakras for both beings only in the lattermost case. When a being engages the green ray chakra during a sexual act, they are satisfied during and after the sexual experience. The being who focuses on the orange or yellow ray chakra is left unsatisfied and keeps craving for sexual satisfaction, which will never come if they do not at least engage the green ray chakra during the sexual experience. Blockages could be related to character flaws. They are not permanent and can be balanced out if the inner work is done. As when the green ray heart chakra is activated in any regard during a being's incarnation, the green ray chakra, when activated during the act of sex, allows the potential for energy to further rise to the blue ray chakra. The blue ray chakra deals with communication, and if it is engaged during the act of sex, it provides a high level of comfort, acceptance, and freedom. Even if only one being engages the blue ray chakra during the act of sex, the other being involved in the sexual energy exchange may feel it and has the potential to be intuitively guided up to the same level and activate their blue ray chakra, or the green ray chakra if they are still working on engaging this chakra during the act of sex. When beings are aware of themselves as being part of Source and so are aware that they are creators, the indigo ray chakra may be activated during the act of sex. In this high vibration, if experienced by both beings, the wholeness of one being unites with another during the act of sex, which can be done with or without intercourse. When this energy flow is reached, a constant, relaxed, and blissful orgasmic feeling is felt, and depending on the duration of the act of sex, this feeling has the potential to continue well past the act of sex and be felt for many hours and even the next day, lessening in strength as time progresses. The violet ray chakra, like the red ray chakra, is constant and does not offer polarity during the act of sex. The violet ray chakra allows those who have gone past engaging the indigo ray chakra and acts as a pathway to opening up a greater connection with source energy and mind, either done during the act of sex or not. If this pathway is accessed during the act of sex, a sacred experience is had and the cosmic orgasmic feeling we described during indigo ray chakra engagement is felt but to a higher degree of intensity and duration. This is what some have called positive sex magic. However, there is no such thing as magic. Labeling something as magic is only a failure to understand how something is done or achieved. Negatively oriented third density beings and negative higher density beings see activating universal love with the heart chakra as a weakness, as they are a service to self and do not wish to give love to others. On both the board game of life and the smaller board game of sex, which resides inside the board game of life, negatives focus on the orange and yellow ray chakras. The blockages that are created in these two chakras during the act of sex produces a craving that is never satisfied, leaving the being with the feeling of wanting to perform the act over and over again. This is similar to one who tries to satisfy their unbalanced mental state by eating large quantities of foodstuffs, typically being drawn to unhealthy foodstuffs, drinking large amounts of alcohol, or taking large amounts of drugs, all of which will never satisfy their cravings no matter how much is ingested, because an alternative to the root issue is being focused on. A human being focusing on the orange or yellow ray chakra during the act of sex enjoys the feeling as one enjoys the taste of unhealthy foodstuffs. They may perceive the feeling to be pleasant for the duration of time they are enjoyed, but afterwards, the much longer lasting ill feelings of unhealthiness are the consequence. A constant craving feeling is the perpetual state of wanting but never having, which is a prime deterrent of contentment. If a human being observes the feelings and vibrations they are creating during orange or yellow ray chakra acts of sex, they will notice the feelings are edgy and negative, not calm and harmonious, and are not feelings they would want to create during their life on the life board game while not participating in sexual acts. The feelings and emotions one produces while performing sex or not is an indicator of balanced and unbalanced states of being. Observing the unbalanced feelings created during the act of sex is akin to reading the ingredient list of the unhealthy foodstuffs one is currently eating. Once this is done, the being is no longer in doubt of whether they are practicing balancing or unbalancing acts, although this does not mean that the temptation goes away. After climaxing from the act of sex that has focused on the orange and/or yellow ray chakra, the feeling may be edgy and the enjoyment from the low vibratory act dissipates quickly. What remains is an unsatisfied craving feeling where one thinks they will be satisfied the next time they perform the same act, and so rush towards it in haste again. As with unhealthy foodstuffs / junk food, the craving makes one believe they will be satisfied with the next bite, then the next bite after that. then the next bite after that. But satisfaction never comes from practicing low vibratory actions that do not fulfill the root cause. We will give some indicators to gauge the vibratory level of a sexual act, which may also be utilized as methods for attaining higher chakra sexual acts. All pertain to sexual acts between two beings or solo sex. Observe how you feel during the act. A being who focuses on the orange or yellow ray chakra during sex may say they feel good, but it is not actually a good feeling. It is them enjoying the unhealthy feelings of being dominating, controlling, and treating others as objects, or on the other side of the unhealthy spectrum, being submissive, humiliated, and treated like an object. The latter case not wanting to be experienced by most in their life board game, being humiliated or treated like an object, is an indicator of the unhealthy action being played out on the sexual board game. The few that do enjoy such experiences in the life board game have much more to overcome and balance. Having a slow sexual rhythm is not only more sensual, but allows prana to possibly keep flowing upward through the chakras. Having a fast sexual rhythm tenses up the body and causes the flow of upward prana to get blocked in the orange or yellow ray chakra. A fast sexual rhythm puts most of the emphasis on the body complex, trying to receive stimulation through mostly utilizing the body like a spiritless machine. A slow sexual rhythm, often accompanied by undulating motions, offers the being's complexes of the body, mind, and spirit to be stimulated and participate in the sexual experience. Unless the spirit complex is stimulated adequately during a sexual act, the flow of prana does not reach the green, blue, or indigo ray chakras. When a being is not in the mood for a sexual act but performs it anyway, they may have to try harder to be stimulated, which leads to a much greater possibility of gravitating towards a fast sexual rhythm that tenses up the body and blocks the flow of upward prana. If a being feels a calm but intense blissful stimulation in the higher chakra area of the body while experiencing the smooth act of sex, it is an indication that the flow of prana is not being blocked in the lower chakras and is being allowed to flow upward toward or to the indigo ray chakra. All sexual acts start in the red ray chakra and flow upward through the energy centers till they are blocked, if they are blocked. This is the same for all stimuli received on the life board game. Thus, a green ray chakra sexual experience does not start in the green ray chakra, although it may be the first chakra area where intense stimulation is felt. The red ray chakra is the foundation chakra that the upward flow of prana first encounters for all experiences, including sexual experiences. If prana flow is not blocked in the red ray chakra due to fear of not being able to perform or compatibility issues, the flow of prana continues to move up to the orange ray chakra, where it is blocked if inequality is mentally focused on from individual to individual. If it is not blocked in the orange ray chakra, the flow of prana continues up toward the yellow ray chakra, where it is blocked if the individual mentally focuses on inequality in the association of groups such as race or nationality. If it is not blocked in the yellow ray chakra, the flow of prana continues up toward the green ray chakra and universal love is experienced where satisfaction is felt. From here, prana stops flowing upward if the sexual act is not performed with effortless ease and freedom of expression to activate and engage the blue ray chakra. Prana only continues past the blue ray chakra and activates and engages the indigo ray chakra if a being is not only fully comfortable with themselves, but knows their infinite worth as a creator, and a level of wholeness and contentment is known and felt. Prana only continues past the indigo ray chakra and traverses the violet ray chakra to connect with source energy and mind when a being expresses their wholeness that goes beyond being a seemingly separate spark of source and fully knows and feels the love energy connection with all that is in the oneness and as the oneness. Observe how long the feelings last after the act of sex is done. The longer the loving, blissful feelings last, the potentially higher the vibration of the sexual act was. This depends not only on the green ray through indigo ray chakra that are engaged, but the duration of the sexual experience, which may or may not include sexual penetration, as the act of sex involves the mind-body-spirit complex. Like charging a battery, the longer the sexual act is experienced, and so charged, the longer the feelings remain after the sexual act is done. Sexual acts that engage the green ray chakra produce a lasting loving feeling after the sexual act is done. Blue ray chakra feelings last even longer, and indigo ray chakra feelings even longer, considering the duration they were engaged for was close to being equal. When one who usually performs orange or yellow ray chakra focused sexual acts participates in a green ray engaged sexual act, they feel the difference. They feel satisfied instead of being left with a craving feeling. Here's a basic way to know if your particular aim or method for a sexual act is healthy, green ray engaged, or unhealthy, orange or yellow ray focused. If the aim or method only works with a fast rhythm and does not resonate in the green ray heart chakra, which one should be able to feel in their chest where the heart is located, then it is an unhealthy orange or yellow ray chakra focused sexual act and fantasy. The two aspects that may be focused on to engage at least the heart chakra are having a smooth and adequately slow rhythm and bringing prana to at least the heart chakra by producing emotional feelings of universal love, which are felt in the heart area of the body due to harmony and equality. A particular sexual position may be the same for a healthy or unhealthy sex act, as one's focus on mental thoughts, feelings, and emotions while doing the action is what is important, because experiencing and charging these is what makes it a green ray chakra sexual act or not. The alignment of the spine is what is important when solely focusing on physical positions during a sexual act, shared or solo, where undulating motions of the spine assist the upward flow of prana through the chakras. Sexual positions that cause the spine to be bent enough to impede or stop the upward flow of prana may create blockages in the orange or yellow ray chakras. If one is observant while performing a sexual act in this way, they will notice that the intense sexual feelings felt are mostly situated in the areas of their body where the orange or yellow ray chakras reside, which goes no further upward than the solar plexus and is not felt in the chest where the green ray chakra resides. If a being starts a sexual experience with a mental fantasy that focuses on the orange ray chakra, which is synonymous with inequality from individual to individual, then that is where the flow of upward prana will most likely be blocked, unless the folly of the fantasy is recognized and abandoned sometime during the act and the upward flow of prana resumes, but usually the initial intent is sustained during the act. The human being is setting themselves up for defeat before they have even started the experience. Certain body types and races may be found pleasing or attractive due to inherent or developed preferences in one's incarnation. This is all well and occurs for a purpose, but if there is no shared loving connection and only the superficial or physical is focused on, the heart chakra is not engaged. Sexual acts that focus on the orange ray chakra are straightforward. If any part played in the giving and receiving act of sex is not shared by both as being wanted in the giving and receiving, loving in the giving and receiving, and harmonious, it is an orange ray chakra focused sexual act. It is the same for sexual acts focusing on the yellow ray chakra, but the affiliation of group identification is also introduced. Any group scenario could be imagined, but typically sexual acts affiliated with groups tend to focus on race, nationality, or body types. As with affiliated groups of the yellow ray chakra on the life board game, focusing on groups during the act of sex is not unhealthy by itself and does not create blockages in the lower chakras if the same harmonious matters for the orange ray chakra are equal. Meaning, both beings enjoy the experience, both experience loving feelings while receiving or giving, and the act is harmonious without inequality being mentally focused on. When the affiliated groups of race, nationality, and/or body types is lovingly appreciated and not perceived as superior or inferior than the other, prana flow may continue further and also engage the green ray heart chakra while the mental group identification is in play. As in the life board game, mental group affiliation / identification during the act of sex only creates a hindrance of engaging the green ray chakra if the perceived groups are not seen as equal and one is perceived to be superior or inferior than another. In the case of mental inequality with group identification, blockages occur in the yellow ray chakra and the green ray chakra is not engaged. As in the life board game, mental group affiliations during the act of sex need to be abandoned in order to engage the indigo ray chakra. This is not because group affiliation is necessarily negative or unhealthy. It is because such mental projections of duality end in the sixth density, where unity resides and so is related to the sixth chakra, the indigo ray chakra, where spiritual matters reside in wholeness and therefore do not mentally deal with separate groups, even if they are seen as equal. At this high vibration, such groups' affiliations are known to be an illusion and so are not mentally focused on or charged. A higher degree of the spirit complex is accessed and the body complex loses much of its relevance and focus. This definitely does not mean that different races, nationalities, body types, or any other groups cannot share sexual acts to achieve engagement of the indigo ray chakra. It simply means the groups are not mentally focused on. Instead, the focus is on universal love and the whole experience of the mind-body-spirit complex for any possible combination of two beings. All of this is the same for sexual acts between two entities or solo sex. For solo sex, in order to avoid chakra blockages, since there is only one entity involved, their mentally projected focus or fantasy of the other entity they are focusing on for the sexual act would need to be loving and embrace equality. If the mental projection or fantasy is one of loving equality where both perceived beings enjoy the process in a loving manner no matter who is giving or receiving, and equality is established where no feelings of domination, submission, humiliation, or one being portrayed as an object is mentally focused on, then the flow of prana reaches the green ray chakra and potentially higher chakras during solo sex. Solo sex may be more difficult to engage the green ray chakra because another being's loving emotions are not present that assist at engaging this chakra, and it is also easier to slip into focusing on an orange or yellow ray chakra fantasy because there is not another being the individual is interacting with, and so there are no perceived consequences. It is accurate that there is no karmic consequences with another being in that there is no sexual energy transfer, but the one performing focused orange or yellow ray chakra solo sex still creates blockages in their own chakras. The more frequently solo sex is performed, especially for older adults who no longer possess as much sexual energy, the higher the probability of focusing on the orange or yellow ray chakra. This deals with being in the mood and is the same case for sexual acts between two beings. One may want to enjoy the feeling of sex, but that does not mean they are necessarily in the mood. It is similar to one who may want to enjoy the taste of foodstuffs, but that does not necessarily mean they are hungry or need sustenance. This does not mean that one cannot engage the green ray heart chakra at these times we mention. It merely means there is an increase in the probability of not engaging the heart chakra. The best way to approach solo sex for the highest probability of engaging the green ray chakra and higher chakras is akin to approaching the sexual act as a type of meditation. One may mentally focus on the fantasy to initiate the sexual flow of energy at first. Then it is the feelings one has created that are more focused on, and their flow up the spine and through the chakras toward the crown chakra, doing so with a slow rhythm with undulating motions of the spine. The fantasy may be focused on in intervals before returning to the focus on the loving feelings created and the upward flow of prana through the chakras. It is a slow rhythm and a blissful calm experience like that of a meditation. Those who enjoy snuff porn are displaying personal issues and blockages in the orange ray chakra and are living out their unconstructive fantasy as either the snuffer or the one being snuffed. The worst case orange ray chakra blockage sexual act is when snuff is played out not merely as a fantasy on the sexual board game, but rather played out on the life board game where one actually is force transitioned / snuffed out while engaging on the sexual board game at the same time. In this case, the dominating snuffer is stimulated and blocked in the orange ray chakra while playing out the most controlling and powerful act over another individual, taking their life / force transitioning them. As harvest time draws nearer, we have noticed negatively oriented third density human beings who are heavily influenced by higher density negatives promoting their preferred orange and yellow ray acts of sex in their programming outlets, movies, TV series, books, online platforms. This programming shapes social conditioning for those who fail to think for themselves and are more interested in fitting in with the perceived majority. Bondage, the act of domination and submission, is one example. Pain being given or received in any manner is another example. Being a slave, pet, or object for another, where the being playing the role of the slave, pet, or object is constantly craving low vibratory feelings of humiliation and submission, and the other being displaying reverse low vibratory feelings of control and domination is another example. Fast-paced and animalistic acts of sex, where the human beings can be seen focusing solely on the body and producing animalistic craving feelings in their short-lived sexual activity, is another example of the negatively oriented beings programming to promote orange and yellow ray chakra focused sexual acts, which are unhealthy because they create blockages in the chakras and they polarize toward the negative. The board game of sexual acts resides within the larger board game of life and is very revealing to the situation of the life board game. We will give some examples. Negatively oriented third density beings are prone to engaging in orange and yellow ray sexual acts where they are the controlling dominators or the controlled submissive, which is akin to how they live their lives, controlling others and being submissive to their chosen masters who are higher in the hierarchy than they are, whether they be other third density beings or fourth density negatives. Those who are born with inherent attractions or so-called fetishes to the lower half of the human body, especially the feet, are positively oriented third density beings or wanderers who are displaying their service to others disposition through the act of sex. They find much pleasure in giving and serving / aiding. However, if any part of the lower half of the body, or any part of the body period, is solely focused on without engaging in at least the green ray heart chakra, a being will be stuck in performing unhealthy orange or yellow ray sexual acts. As on the life board game, those practicing service to others acts need to have healthy spiritual boundaries, or they may get stuck in the mud with those they are attempting to serve / assist out of the mud. Failing to construct the same spiritual boundaries on the sexual board game with other beings may lead to performing submissive and humiliating acts rather than giving acts to the middle and lower half of the physical body that are appreciated and not looked down upon in judgment by the receiver. Why would one look down on or judge another for giving or aiding? As with any part of the physical human body, lower, middle, or higher areas, the parts may be admired and assist in initiating love energy during sexual acts. But when the physical parts are solely focused on without engaging in the heart chakra, only unhealthy acts and cravings are charged because universal love is not present in the act. Given the seniority of vibration for the Q incarnate onto Earth at this period close to harvest time, there are hundreds of millions of positively oriented later third subdensity beings and approximately 385 million wanderers that have incarnated onto Earth who are inherently driven to serve / aid the majority. With this inherent ambition to serve / assist, a large amount of beings in these two groups are inherently born with a so-called foot fetish because such an inherent sexual attraction is a high probability for beings who inherently want to perform service to others acts and serve the majority. Naturally, serving / aiding acts should be respected instead of shamed or looked down upon. The negatives are aware of this inherent sexual trait of positively oriented human beings, so they have engineered shaming campaigns in their outlets of programming, movies, TV series, online platforms. in an attempt to steer the positively oriented beings into performing orange and yellow ray acts of sex by producing humiliating feelings as the lower half of the body is focused on. Humbling feelings are healthy, but humiliating feelings are unhealthy. Instead of the positively oriented human beings serving another in a loving manner that engages the green ray heart chakra, the negatives attempt to twist their service so it is serving negative polarity by directing them to focus on the orange or yellow ray chakra where inequality and shame arises in one's service. In cases where the male is focusing on performing the serving/giving act to the female, this campaign by the negatives also targets females by keeping the energy of masculinity in control over femininity on the planet, as females and their femininity being revered and held in high regard would offset the controlling balance of the male power positions that are at the top of the service to self hierarchy on Earth. The negatively oriented human beings have no wish to balance the yin and the yang energies because their aim is in balance. This programming campaign acts as a multi-layered attack aimed at body appreciation, acts of sex, those who wish to lovingly serve/aid, and gender equality. Many more males than females are inherently born with an appreciation and attraction to the lower half of a female's body, especially the feet, by design to aid in the balancing of the yin and yang energies on Earth because they are majorly out of balance. The dominating masculine energies that have ruled the Earth for most of the grand cycle during the third density experience on Earth have kept the societies on Earth heavily unbalanced, which has increased the probabilities for violence, wars, and general disharmony. The same matter and issues are present for one who is giving oral pleasure to the genitals of another in the act of sex. The act of giving and receiving is only healthy when both beings enjoy the experience in a loving manner and one does not look down on the other for performing giving acts, and the one performing the giving acts does not produce humiliating feelings while giving. Instead, both the giver and the receiver appreciate the situation and produce loving feelings during the experience. Nothing that is inherent should be shamed, only balanced accordingly. Inherent character traits on the life board game and inherent sexual attractions on the sexual board game are pre-incarnate planned and are meant to assist the third density being in balancing their karma and fulfilling their goals. It would benefit a positively oriented third density being to accept what they have pre-incarnate planned for themselves and work on balancing their traits that reside on the life and sexual board game of third density, so such traits can balance their chakras, particularly their red, orange, and yellow ray chakras, so the green ray heart chakra may be engaged and offer a launch pad up to and through the higher chakras. Graduating to fourth density positive requires an adequate balancing of a being's red, orange, and yellow ray chakras, with the green ray chakra needing to be partially balanced. Each being is unique, so the method and degree of required balancing for each chakra is different for each being, each spark of source. Inherent attractions for sexual acts should not be confused with developed preferences during a being's influential sexual years before or during puberty, or even developed later on in one's life. Doing anything a certain way for the first time promotes a preference for performing such an act in the future. And since sexual acts deal with powerful energy flows, first-time sexual acts are prone to developing set preferences. Knowing this, negatively oriented human beings initiate their bloodlines, and as much as the majority as possible through programming and social conditioning, to engage in orange ray chakra sexual acts for their first-time acts of sex. When one is set in their preferences on the sexual board game, it can be difficult to alter since the flow of energy experienced during the act of sex is so powerful, and therefore influential. This is akin to one gravitating toward the junk food aisle instead of the healthy fruits and vegetable aisle when entering your foodstuff stores. Those set in their junk food are lured into the act of trying to satisfy their cravings. But like a so-called drug addict chases that perfect high they will never obtain, the craving is no different than trying to fill a bottomless hole, which cannot be filled or satisfied no matter how many attempts are made. Unhealthy acts performed on the sexual board game, such as rape or other forced scenarios, especially for one's first-time sexual act, may cause mental issues to arise. They may spring forward from a negatively polarizing sexual act being performed, but they come from the life board game. If the abused does not let it imprint or mark them mentally, it will have no power over them. This root issue is mental and not sexual. The oppressive act only describes the oppressor and is their problem. It has nothing to do with the oppressed. And if that is mentally known and feelings of victimhood, low self-worth, and anger are not continued to be entertained, the one who was oppressed will not continue to mentally oppress themselves for another's faulty actions and mentality. One may ask, why did we, collectively as Source, create the potential for edginess and pain to feel good and pleasurable while performing sexual acts if it creates blockages and is inharmonious? If pain, edginess, and inharmonious sexual acts were not potentially desired in some way, no beings would be inclined to feel them and pursue the negative path, which, as we stated, are roles some beings are required to play for the cosmic experience to be effective, entertaining, and offer learning and growth through challenges. One who is caught in unhealthy orange and yellow ray chakra sexual acts may lead themselves toward green ray chakra sexual acts by addressing the root issues that reside in their life board game, as opposed to altering it directly on the sexual board game, which can be done but is more difficult. When respect and love are established for oneself and for others on the life board game, the sexual board game may be altered to reflect such. When one develops respect and love for themselves and others on the life board game, they are more equipped to engage the green ray heart chakra on the sexual board game. When a human being experiences the powerful effects during and after an act of sex that engages the green ray heart chakra, they do not want to go back to experiencing orange and yellow ray chakra sexual acts. Although it may still take an effort to alter one's unhealthy sexual preferences during solo sex, because another's love energy is not there to be felt and guide the situation, so one might fall into old habits. This is similar to one who knows certain foodstuffs are unhealthy and make them feel bad overall, but they are still tempted by instant and temporary gratification until new habit is formed and their mental self-programming is altered. Different ongoing experiences offer one's mentality the ability to adapt, just like taste buds adapt after being weaned off of unhealthy foodstuffs. The being recognizes how the blissful feelings experienced during and after green ray chakra engaged sexual acts are more powerful and pleasurable than orange and yellow ray chakra sexual acts, and that a satiated feeling exists after the act instead of craving feelings that are never quenched. The being hooked on the habit of performing focused orange and yellow ray sexual acts typically tries to justify their habit to themselves, wanting to believe it is healthy, or at least not unhealthy. They may react with an emotionally charged response at another being or this information when advice is given that threatens their habit. Any being who has formed and fostered a strong enough habit they are prone to giving into, a so-called addict of something, mentally looks for an excuse to warrant it because they have not yet decided to face the reality of the situation and cease the unhealthy habit. We restate, the further the energy flow is brought up the chakras during sexual acts, the more powerful the feelings of love and bliss are felt during and after the act. Green ray chakra engaged acts of sex produce loving, blissful, and content feelings even for a period after the act is done. The emotions produced from blue ray chakra engaged acts of sex are more powerful than green ray chakra acts and linger longer, as well as producing elevated levels of acceptance, freedom, and an ease of comfort on a give and receive basis. Indigo ray chakra engaged acts of sex produce more powerful and blissful emotions than blue ray chakra acts and may go even further toward a sacred experience, leaving one with an orgasmic, blissful feeling for many hours after the act is done, if not lingering into the next day. For all of these cases, green ray through sacred indigo ray sexual acts, the loving, blissful, and content feelings linger longer in accordance with the duration of time the sexual act was experienced for. Like a battery given more time to charge lasts longer. We are not shaming or judging orange or yellow ray chakra focused sexual acts. We are merely pointing out that they produce blockages and so are unhealthy and polarized toward the negative, and so are not recommended for beings who seek to graduate to fourth density positive. We do not shame or judge any action, no matter how unhealthy or unwise the act is, as it is a being's choice, as free will is the fundamental law that allows the cosmos to operate. Furthermore, shaming and judging something, which are acts of negativity rather than loving guidance, charges the unbalanced mental state and so strengthens it instead of reducing its charge, lessening the possibility of the unhealthy mentality or physical actions being ceased. It is more a matter of recognizing what is healthy and unhealthy for the benefit of a being rather than stating what is right or wrong. Whether it be foodstuffs or sexual acts, the healthy and unhealthy effects while the act is taking place and long after are felt by the human being if they are being observant of their mind-body-spirit complex, which are all connected. So when a wise being becomes aware of this effect, they naturally gravitate toward healthy ways of living for their own benefit and the benefit of others. Unlike how the benefits of ingesting healthy foodstuffs can turn unbeneficial when too much foodstuffs are ingested and puts a strain on the physical body, there are no drawbacks to the amount of healthy sexual acts performed. The healthy flow of life force energy through the energy centers from healthy acts of sex, where at least the green ray heart chakra is engaged, is always beneficial. One need not question the amount of sexual acts they should have, but whether the sexual acts they perform are healthy or unhealthy. A being who performs healthy acts of sex naturally gravitates toward the amount of sex that is suitable for them, which may greatly vary from one unique being to another. Since green ray and higher chakra engaged sexual acts do not create a craving feeling, beings gravitate toward the amount that feels suitable for them instead of being driven by an insatiable, craving, addictive feeling that beings who participate in unhealthy sexual acts experience. The sexual board game may be a mirror and a magnifying glass for the life board game. In the life board game, a being with an activated or adequately balanced green ray heart chakra enjoys aiding others by performing service to others' acts and needs to set spiritual boundaries so they are not taken advantage of by beings with unbalanced orange and yellow ray chakras who always want to receive with service to self acts on the life board game. It is the same on the sexual board game. The beings who perform green ray chakra engaged sexual acts is always vulnerable to beings who solely perform orange or yellow ray chakra focused sexual acts, because the being who focuses on the green ray chakra naturally wants to give / aid without expecting anything in return. And the being who focuses on the orange and yellow ray chakras is solely focused on fulfilling their personal wants and desires. The healthy green ray sexual act is in jeopardy of sinking to an unhealthy sexual act when coupled with a being who prefers orange or yellow ray sexual acts. More seldom, the being who focuses on unhealthy orange or yellow ray chakra sexual acts may be intuitively raised to perform a healthy sexual act and experience the engagement of the green ray chakra during a sexual act when coupled with a being who performs green ray and higher sexual acts. In the life board game, a being with an adequately balanced blue ray chakra possesses wisdom and so is much less likely to be taken advantage of by beings with unbalanced orange and yellow ray chakras who always want to receive with service to self acts. Likewise, on the sexual board game, a being who performs blue ray chakra engaged sexual acts typically does not feel comfortable or interested in performing acts of sex with beings who are still focused on orange and yellow ray chakra sexual acts. Positive wanderers, since their true density is the 4th, 5th, or 6th density, are conducive to performing green ray and higher chakra engaged sexual acts. Until 5th and especially 6th density wanderers experience a green ray or higher chakra engaged act of sex with another, they, as well as others they have sex with or fail to, are inclined to think there is something wrong with them in the sexual area. This is much more prevalent with males, since sexual intercourse involving both genitalia cannot be had without a stimulated erect penis. Female genitalia can be utilized even if it is not stimulated, so female wanderers, or females in general, may solely experience sexual frustration. Once a wanderer experiences at least a green ray chakra engaged sexual act, they realize there is nothing wrong with them in the sexual area and know how and with whom they prefer to experience acts of sex going forward. There are few 4th density wanderers incarnate on Earth. They are conducive to green ray chakra engaged sexual acts and face the possible issues we have already stated about green ray chakra engaged acts of sex being vulnerable to sexual acts that focus on the orange and yellow ray chakras. It is more about a being's balanced chakras than being a wanderer or not, although Since wanderers have spent many incarnations and different densities performing healthy sexual acts, they are much more likely to gravitate toward the engagement of the chakra that correlates with their true density level if their chakras are adequately balanced up to the chakra that is to be engaged during sexual acts. Fourth, fifth, and sixth density wanderers may have inherent dispositions and learn, or rather remember, quicker than beings who have not graduated from third density yet. But if a third density being applies much dedication in seeking and striving and doing the inner work, and adequately balances their green ray, blue ray, or up to their indigo ray chakra in their incarnation, and keeps them adequately balanced on an ongoing basis most of the time instead of only fleetingly, they experience the same inclinations towards sexual acts as the wanderer from true fourth density conducive to green ray acts, true fifth density conducive to blue ray acts, and true sixth density conducive to indigo ray acts. Just as the wanderer is not assured to remember their mission, they are not assured to adequately balance their chakras in the current incarnation they wander in and perform green ray to indigo ray sexual acts. Fifth density wanderers incarnate on Earth tend not to prefer producing offspring and or raising children because they know subconsciously that they want to focus on pre-incarnate planned service to others mission that may be greatly hindered or stopped by having to focus on the necessities of raising children. Also, having come from a density with a high vibration, they are not inclined to produce offspring that would be exposed to the harsh, low vibratory conditions of third density, especially on a mixed or negative graduation planet. Even if they are involved in a long-term love relationship, which is typically done with another wanderer, they are prone to not wanting to get married, as a binding contract is not something that is applied to universal love in their true density, and they may feel like such a contract would capture them. This does not mean they avoid having lifelong lovers. It means they recognize that a legally binding contract is not something that should be applied to universal love. Although such a contract may be utilized in your broken system to offset the possible limitations stamped upon beings of certain nationality origins who cannot travel the planet as freely without the contract. Sixth density wanderers incarnate on Earth feel an even greater aversion to producing offspring and getting married for the same reasons listed for fifth density wanderers. Sixth density wanderers experience great difficulty when performing sexual acts with others who are not wanderers or who have not adequately balanced their chakras to at least the green ray or blue ray chakra, and avoid sex with beings who are interested in sexual acts that focus on the orange and yellow ray chakras. They gravitate toward being self-sufficient with solo sex and seeking out other beings who can experience sexual acts of wholeness that involve or are close to involving all of the mind-body-spirit complex, which does not require sexual intercourse but may include it. Acts of sex for positive beings in the sixth density involve the mind-body-spirit complex coming together and temporarily melding in wholeness with their partner. These spiritual acts of sex are what sixth density wanderers are used to. This experience resides in the subconscious mind of the wanderer and is felt on some level consciously while they wander in third density. They are not interested in performing sexual acts with beings who focus on the physical body alone, as this feels superficial, mechanical, and meaningless to them. It is beneficial to drop all the programming and preconceived attachments about sexual acts and instead merely look at the experience as a flow of love energy, either experienced with oneself or with another. There is nothing more powerful in the cosmos than intelligently conscious love energy that is the essential foundation for all that exists in the cosmos. When this flow of intelligently conscious love energy, which is life force energy, is initiated in sexual acts and focused on while being brought up one's energy centers, there is no greater or intense feeling to be felt in the cosmic experience. It is wise to not let any programming rob or cheat you of this most beneficial and powerful experience. This course is presented in video format for free to overcome book shadow banning and make its existence known. Now that you know it exists, it's recommended to proceed how this course is intended to be absorbed by book. The title of the book is The Cosmic Experience of One, an Awareness Expanding Course for Human Beings. The information in this course is more effective and appropriate to be read in book form, where one can pause and ruminate and meditate on the material as they read. Besides the low audio quality in the videos and the protection from targeted spoken words and censorship, the book is a much better way to understand and learn the material. The book contains two more subjects, 104.2 and 104.3, which is my way of thanking those who show their appreciation to my aiding services by purchasing the book. Since we currently live in a broken monetary system, without your show of monetary appreciation for my services, I can't get by and continue to perform service to others acts by writing more meaningful books. Purchasing the book not only shows your appreciation for my services and allows me to live in this monetary system, but the course's material will be easily accessible for your revisiting. To more fully absorb the material, it's recommended to read the book at least twice. You will understand why on your second reading. You can gain positive polarity by doing your part in sharing this awareness expanding course with others. Raising the collective's vibration is a team effort. We cannot do this alone. Your participation is required. Liking and subscribing are also actions that make this course seen by more human beings. A negatively oriented being learns information and keeps it to themselves so they can selfishly benefit over others. A positively oriented being learns information and wants others to benefit from it as well because they care. And they know that aiding others also aids themselves. This is true in more ways than one. As a being gains positive polarity for aiding others, and they benefit again when another's vibration is raised because it raises the whole collective's vibration, which assists all, including the first being who shared. All are connected, all are one. Comments and questions will be read, but I will not reply with comments, nor like comments, nor heart comments, nor interact in the comments section in any way. If comments or questions are found to warrant a reply, the reply will be made in a possible future video. If an account using the same or similar profile picture, channel name, or my author name interacts in any of the ways listed above or other ways, know that it's not me and is a human tool working for the negatively oriented human beings to capture and twist the information in this course or your perception, or smear the messenger. Likewise, human tools may create fake accounts on this platform or others in the same attempt to capture and twist this course's information. Official sources for me are listed in the description field below. Everything else is fake.